Hello, and welcome to Reston Association's 2018 Board of Directors South Lakes District Candidates Forum. I'm Karen Anton. I'm the chair of the Elections Committee for Reston Association, and I will be your moderator this evening. Thank you all for attending tonight, and thank you to those who are watching online. This month, the citizens of Reston will elect 4 Reston Association board members, 3 at-large directors, 2 for terms of 3 years each, and 1 for a term of 1 year, and 1 director from the South Lakes District. RA board members determine the association's goals and policies, making an important and lasting contribution to the community, especially now, as Reston is entering a challenging phase of significant growth and change. The RA Board is positioned to make a lasting impact on the future of Reston. There are 2 candidates to my left seeking the South Lakes District representative seat on the RA Board, Tammy Petrine and Julie Bitzer. Please welcome the candidates. I'd also like to acknowledge the members of the Elections Committee who are here. Would you please stand up, members? Thank you. We have tonight Bill Krieger, our timekeeper. In the back of the room, you'll find Ed Abbott and Mike Martin. Our 5th member, Mike Gandolfo, could not be here tonight. Now, in order to have an election, there must be a vote of the members. Based on the methodology set forth in the association's governing documents, voting by the members must be done by referendum. As such, whether running contested or uncontested, annually the association's members have the right and the sole responsibility for electing directors to the board. I mention this as it is important that you, the members, participate in the election by casting your vote, either online or by mail. A quorum of 10% must be achieved in each of the 3 races to be valid. Now, this evening, we will have an opportunity to learn about each of the candidates' positions on various issues of importance to our community. There are several ways to ask the candidates about the issues that matter most to you. On your seat, you were provided with a form to pose a written question to the candidates. Members of the Elections Committee and staff will be collecting these questions from the audience throughout the evening and grouping them by theme. We will also be taking live questions from the audience. Additionally, as this event is being live streamed via the association's YouTube channel, our Elections Committee will be receiving questions in real time from RA's Facebook and Twitter accounts and via email. So let's begin with the opening remarks. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to make an opening remark. Tammy will speak first, followed by Julie. Once each candidate has made her opening remarks, the forum discussion will begin. Now, candidates, please remember that we have members of the Elections Committee in the front row who will help you keep time. A member, Mr. Bill Krieger, when you see that your time has expired, please wrap up your comments. And just to go over this again, it will be green for the first 1 minute, 45 seconds for the opening remarks. Then it will go to yellow for 10 seconds and 5 for the final 5 seconds.
Thank you.
Tammy, let's start with you.
Thank you and welcome everybody, and thank you for being here. My name is Tammy Petrine and I love Reston. I have lived here for the past 42 years and worked hard for the last 10 to save it. I have spoken at many meetings to protect our valued planned community from the developer-driven density, the developers who are striving to densify it without the composite or resiquate, wow, this is not going well. Anyway, the infrastructure that we need. I love her beauty. I love Reston's harmony with nature, and I love her welcoming character. With others, I have formed the Coalition for a Planned Reston to give one voice to the Reston community in defense of our balanced community. The Reston Association is an essential and leading element in defining our needs to the county in controlling density, and without which we cannot have a planned community. While RA continues to focus on this critical issue, it also has had to confront other issues of importance. Perhaps the largest of these is Tetra. We now have a new board composed of a majority of directors willing to take a close look at what needs to be done to avoid a repeat. They have done an amazing work implementing many reforms, and with your support, they will continue this not yet finished work. For this year's election, for the board, 4 like-minded volunteers decided to run as a team: Sridhar Gannison, Travis Johnson, John Bowman, and myself. We each bring different expertise and experience, but share the same outlook. The obligation of the board is to serve the membership using the best judgment formed on the basis of hard look at facts.
Thank you, Tammy. I'm afraid your
Thank
2
you.
minutes are up. Thank you. Julie.
Ready? Well, started at 2. Thank you to the Elections Committee for their support in hosting of campaign events this year. I'm running again simply because there is still work to be done to protect and maintain our Reston community and quality of life. 38 years ago, Reston just felt right. First a townhouse, then a single-family dwelling on the 14th hole of Reston National. In Reston, embracing live, work, play, I have found diversity, tolerance in age, ethnicity, values, and economics. I found open space and lakes protected and accessible, the ability to be one with nature. Village centers are populated by small businesses within walking distance and biking distance for us. People are willing to mobilize to protect a golf course threatened by developers, where letting one open space slip away would open the door to more onslaughts and increased population density without the promised infrastructure. In our greater community, there are many opportunities to serve and volunteer. As an elected district director, my focus has been and will be on Reston's core mission, delivering valued, responsive, and continually improving service cost-effectively. I serve our community as an active board member to Parks, Recreation, Covenants, and Design Review Board. I've supported members navigating the RA process for covenants and design review, cluster property, and trail access. Just last week, with member support, I got the board to consider review of boat and lake access of the outdated and conflicting policies. I fought to ensure that the county was held accountable for stream restoration off South Lakes. Lake Thoreau dredging is set for this spring, and Lake Audubon in 2019. I will continue to put my own skin in the game in Reston Association, and I ask for your support.
Thank
This
you,
is my
Julie.
Reston, and I'm proud to call it my forever
Thank you,
home.
Okay. The Elections Committee has prepared a warm-up question for the candidates. Candidates will be given 1 minute to answer the question. Tammy, we started with you for the opening remarks. Julie will start with you for the warm-up question, and then go back to Tammy for the first question from the audience. Here's the warm-up question. How can the Board of Directors be a more effective and respectful governing body? Julie.
It sounds at the offset that's something that's a board responsibility, and I view it as a community responsibility. I see it as individuals stepping up to being responsible, respectful, civil to each other. I see it in the art of listening, of respecting, the ability to agree to disagree. The board needs to follow and maintain the practice of Robert's Rules of Order and take personal responsibility to have that. I expect that our in-house counsel and our secretary of the board are going to do a better job of enforcing that we follow those rules, and they're there for a purpose. But beyond that, we need to have those open houses, those community engagements, the outreach to our community to find out what do they want. To me, that's the respect. It's respectful of our community, not just board behavior.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, reset, Bill? Okay, Tammy.
Thank you. I think that the respect of the board amongst the members is inherently critical. At the same time, there needs to be the ability to discuss issues of controversy in a tone and in a way that you are receiving and giving information. I agree with Julie completely that the community is part of this. The community deserves a respectful board that comports itself properly. I think that our president this past year has done a good job of instituting a system where members are able to speak to an issue once, everybody gets a chance, and then twice, and then the discussion either has to be delayed or a decision put off.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you both for your thoughtful answers. Now for questions posed by our audience this evening. As mentioned earlier, questions have been coming in from RA members via email, Twitter, and you, the audience, this evening. We also welcome live questions from the audience. If you would like to ask a question of the candidates, please raise your hand, and a member of the Elections Committee will provide you with a microphone. Now, here are the rules for questions from members printed on your agenda. Questions must be relevant to all candidates. Members posing questions live at the event have 10 seconds to ask your question. Questions must be posed in the form of a question as opposed to a statement and must be open-ended. Questions may not be repeated. No question constituting a personal attack on any candidate shall be allowed. In the absence of questions from members, the Elections Committee will pose questions prepared in advance by the committee. Okay. Candidates, I will now outline the rules for the forum. The moderator, myself, will alternate between two candidates in offering the opportunity to respond first. Each candidate will have the opportunity to answer first 4 times. The candidate speaking first will have 60 seconds to respond to the question. The second candidate will provide a 60-second response. The first candidate will have 30 seconds to provide closing remarks on the question. And again, Mr. Krieger will have the digital timer handy. Do you have any questions about that format? Either one of you?
I do. I thought everything was
We have, because there's only 2 candidates, I believe we had incorporated the 30-second, rebuttal, yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. Can you do the 30 seconds on there? Okay.
We can just watch till it gets to 30. How about that?
Yeah, we'll do that, okay. All right, okay. Okay, Tammy, we're going to start with you for the first question. And the topic is lake access boats. Will you support improved hand-carried boat access to Lake Thoreau? What do you propose to do to limit or reduce the, quote, unattractive, unquote, floats or decks on Reston lakes?
I will say straight up, I am not an expert on the lakes. I was quite amazed at one of the last meetings where one of the members who is a lakefront member had problems with some rules on the lakes. I think that I need to know more about this before I can make an intelligent comment. I'm very concerned about our lakes being open to non-Reston people for a variety of reasons, including bringing in invasive species on the bottoms of foreign boats. So I will defer to answer that until I have more information on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Julie?
Yes, so over the last couple years, there's been a number of times when lake access and usage have come before the board with members who have been cited for violations. And our lake use policy has not been looked at for, I think it's about 10 years. And last Thursday night at the board meeting, a number of members came, encouraged by me, to come and speak to their experiences. And so we were able, between the members speaking and myself having spoken about it last summer, and then again, that we should form a working group to study those rules and figure out the conflicts and figure out a way to maybe find better ways to address boats. The Board Governance Committee is going to take that up next Thursday, and we'll see whether or not it gets on the agenda for the full agenda. Last thing is boat can-carry access. I put that in the budget in 2019 for consideration.
Thanks, Julie. Tammy, you do have 30 seconds if you would like to say anything additionally.
I would just like to say I'm 100% in favor of more study of the problems that people who have boats on the lakes or docks, floating docks. This absolutely needs to be updated and upgraded. So, and I've expressed that to the people who were at the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Julie, the next question, we'll start with you. It's about pools. Shadowwood Pool has the lowest user attendance of all the RA pools. Should RA close it, or how would you increase member usage?
Okay. Again, pools is one of those things that, one of the reasons I ran for the board and joined as the liaison to Parks Recreation was that we needed to look at our demographics and our usage of all of our amenities, not just pools. But pools have a particular interest in 2018 because Lake Thoreau's pool while it will be open in 2018, for 2019, we have to decide what we're going to do with it. Do we keep it? Do we repair it? Do we renovate it? Some might advocate that it should be closed and repurposed. But I'm going to present to the board a plan to do that analysis, working in conjunction with PRAC on needs analysis, demand analysis. I think you can look at all of the pools collectively, not just Shadowwood, and say, is there a purpose for each of those? Should Shadowwood be a therapeutic pool or focused on handicapped access?
Thank you, Julie. Tammy?
I'm very interested in this. Shadowwood neighborhood has a lot of lower income people. If it has low usage, I would like to know more about why that is before we would decide to close a pool. I think that the pools are an amenity that people in Reston expect. At the same time, we have to analyze carefully how they're used and why or why not they're not used. And I'm very curious about the Shadowwood situation. Is it because people have children in daycare that don't have access to the pool? That is a question that I would have to ask the community about, take a survey, really know a lot more before making any sort of judgment on eliminating basic amenities. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Julie, do you have something you'd like to say with 30 seconds?
Yes, I do. We've talked in PRAC about how do we encourage use of the pools? How do you get more people doing it? Is it scholarships for swim lessons? How do you make something fun? You know, Glade Pool, when it was renovated with the water, all of a sudden more people were using it. Is there something we can add to Shadowwood that makes it a drawing card? Is it, so yes, we got to get data, but we also got to get community. We got to get information about our community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good. I see how that works. All right. All right. Yes, Arlene.
I understand the so-called four. It's my understanding that the so-called four candidates are pooling their resources. Hold on a second.
Testing this one. There we go.
It's my understanding that the four who are running together are pooling their so-called resources together, and I'd like to know whether there are whether anyone else is contributing to your campaigns. And finally, with the four contributing their resources and sending out mailings to perhaps 10,000 people, does this pose an unfair advantage to the other candidates who are running? I'm asking you both the same question.
I have to ask you to wrap up the question. Thank you. Okay, I think Tammy, you were up next.
Thank you, Arlene, for posing that question. The four of us decided that we would work together because we share common goals. We support the founding principles of Reston. We are appalled by the density and the way Reston is changing, and we look at the improvements in Reston Association to improve the organization for you all, the members. No, I have received no contributions from anyone else. We have 4 pictures on one card. Is that a disadvantage? I don't know. Other people could have grouped together. They could have contacted us. They chose not to do that. We are very happy and very proud of our group. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Julie?
The issue of self-funding and financial contributions to campaigns brings into question, we're a volunteer community in doing the work that we do and bring to the board, and it lends an element that I don't think has been there previously. Yet I know last year it came up in questions to the community about such. I am self-funded, completely self-funded. I only have so much money, so I'm not doing postcards to everybody's door because it costs me too much money. But I am doing a Facebook, and I am doing a listening session as a candidate at Walker Nature House on March 13th, because one of the things I think is not happening in our community is enough listening, enough gathering of information and sharing of experiences back to each other. And that is how we keep the spirit of Reston together.
Thank you, Julie. Tammy, did you have a response?
No.
Okay. All right. Next question from the audience. And Julie, this will be for you. Do you have a position on Fairfax County's plan to increase the buildings and population by a multiple of 3?
Fairfax counties?
Fairfax County's plan. Yeah.
All right. My gut reaction is, where is the infrastructure that you promised me when you put in the metro? And we are all suffering from the lack of that coming to our door. I think that it's a very complex issue. Certainly, I think I am in support of us being very careful about where we say it's okay to increase the density or why the density is there. There's certain things under our control, and there's things that are not under our control as Reston Association. But Reston Association must lend its voice to represent the community, but we're one voice, not the voice of all the citizens in the community. So on principle, yes, I would say I do not want the density, population density increased. I understand we already have applications to fill the density cap that's there today. So, I'm done.
Thank you,
For my
Julie.
buzz.
Tammy?
100% I am against tripling the density of Reston. We just don't have the space for the amenities that extra population would require. We don't have the money. There are plans everywhere, but they're unfunded plans. So I hope that the citizens of Reston are getting the message through a coalition for a planned Reston. I speak at a lot of meetings. It's such a complex issue. Please join with us. If we don't speak up now and raise our voice unified, we will not succeed. The only thing that matters to our supervisor is mass agreement by the citizens that this is not what we want in Reston.
Thank you, Tammy. Julie, did you have anything further?
Yes, I do. One of the areas that truly troubles me is the fact that the developers are not being required and demanded to bring, to me, a sufficient level of workforce housing. It's ridiculous that we can't have the people who serve us in the community that work with us, our fellow members of the community, to be able to afford to live here. We need the rec centers. Why don't we have a rec center in Reston? The roads, the athletic facilities.
Sorry, Julie, that's the 30 seconds.
That's okay, I didn't quite catch that.
Okay, we have time for another question, and I have one here. And Tammy, this will be for you. First, Lake Thoreau. Lake Thoreau Pool is rumored to have a retaining wall in need of repair or replacement, which together with other repairs on the pool may cost in excess of $1 million. Should RA fix it or close it?
First of all, I don't have any information on that whatsoever. The first thing I would do on that is ascertain exactly what is the problem with Lake Thoreau Pool. Is it fixable? Does it need a demolition? How do the neighbors who use that pool feel about it? This is not a decision that I would make unilaterally. This is a community decision that involves a lot of research. I have a huge problem with bids being put out that something is going to cost $1 million here and $1 million there. We need multiple bids for things, but primarily this is an issue that needs to be thoroughly researched before the board could even dream of making a decision on it. Pool usage is super important to neighborhoods, so please, let's consult our members.
Thank you, Tammy. Julie?
Yes, we pay assessment dues every year. Part of those assessment dues go to our reserve fund so that we can maintain and repair and replace our amenities. People buy in Reston because of a real estate value associated with walkable pools, about neighborhoods that are conducive to that. I've spoken with a lot of the members that live around Lake Thoreau, and they are all telling me, we want our pool. They're saying, I can't walk to Ridge Heights. I can't take my child in a stroller to Ridge Heights or Lake Audubon. That's too far. Pool access, last year we had to reduce it because of the school year. Well, there were a lot of members who were not happy with that used the Lake Thoreau pool. And there was a mother who said, you know, I get home from work and I barely have time to take my child to the pool. I can't take them to any other pool. It's right next door. My time's up.
Thank you. And Tammy?
No, I agree with Julie completely. This needs to be a neighborhood decision, and prices and the condition need to be assessed before we discuss this further.
Okay, thank you. All right, have some more questions here. All right, Julie, this is about the Walker Nature Center. The Walker Nature House is a huge amenity to those who just drop by, whether to sit and read or bird watch out the windows, or with small children to check on the turtle and play nature games. Can you envision ways this sort of informal use could work at the lake house?
Yes, I can. One of the things that I've done in my years on the board is I voted for increased hours for lake house use so that we could increase the use of that by members. There's an open house. I've pushed for us to have open house sessions where people could just drop in and use it. We own the lake house. To me, the lake house could be just like Walker Nature, which focuses on forest and woods, and it could provide an educational venue for aquatics and fishing and whatever. My thought on Lake House is we own it, we ought to provide it to the members for their use, to enjoy and use that facility. Not everything should cost you to use something we own. So.
Thank you. Tammy?
The lake house is a very concerning property. We all know the background of it. We own it. We have to figure out what to do with it. I think the board is struggling with that. I think the public is struggling with that. I really don't think there is any magical answer about what we do with it. Perhaps something will come up, but I don't have a problem with people having access to it unless the cost of a staff member there to guard it or help or host it is prohibitive. That, again, are things that the board has to decide as a group what makes sense. But the public having access to a Reston amenity makes total sense to me.
Thank you. Julie, do you have anything further? You have
No, it's
30
beautiful.
seconds.
It's beautiful. I've had a number of members and non-members express to me that they've enjoyed being able to have their children's wedding there, to have a 30th wedding anniversary party there. some of which, certainly do bring in revenue. When we were looking at the daycare and the after-school program, one of the things I actually thought, though, while I don't support having a concern that competes necessarily with commercial concerns, it did seem to me that 30 seconds, sorry, I was thinking it was a minute.
Oh, sorry, yes. Thank you. Okay, I think we have time for one more question. Tammy, what actions can you take to have the Soapstone Convenience Center cleaned up?
I don't think I actually know that the Soapstone Convenience Center is a problem. That is something that I believe the Covenant staff should be looking at. If members complain to me about that, that is something I would immediately go to staff and request that, could you please make a visit? That's something between the owner of the property and our staff, and then the problem goes into the process that RA already has to have covenants be enforced. I live and drive by there frequently, and to me it seems like it's much better maintained than it has been in the past, which indicates to me that Covenant staff has been doing their job there, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the staff and the efforts they make to do a good job for us.
Okay, thank you. Julie?
Yes, as Tammy said, Covenants has been active and responsive to members' concerns about that convenience center. There were issues that the owner of the convenience center was not stepping up to. There were dialogues and continued. I think that there's probably more to be done on that particular convenience center. It would be nice if we could figure out a way to have some other businesses occupy it. I think the dry cleaners is closed, so that would certainly be helpful. Some pieces of the commercial centers also involve county regulations and laws that we have to consider whether or not we couldn't engage and get support from the county as opposed to just our own covenants. I think that's it.
Okay, that's all. Tammy, did you have anything to add?
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Julie, this one is for you. Capital spending. What should our new capital spending priorities be? What about indoor tennis or soccer?
Capital spending, where do we put it? Besides the fact that we have kind of a plan for the next 10 years or so with our reserve study and things that we already know that we have to address and maintain and keep, the question of indoor tennis comes up a lot. That happens to be one that I think needs to be addressed by commercial concerns. I'd love to see, for example, Hidden Creek to decide to put in a tennis academy that we got special rates for members of Reston Association. That would certainly be a nice idea of a public-private partnership. I could see something where the members of the tennis community looked at, could they do some crowdsourcing activity that might support us relooking at whether or not it was in our best interest as an association to put in some covered tennis courts. But again, you got to go back to the demand and the community interest.
Tammy?
On indoor tennis, that would be an absolute no. We have, and people are laughing in the back because they know how I feel about this. We have aging infrastructure that needs to be maintained, repaired, and replaced. We, at this point, cannot take on indoor tennis. I think the demographic that would use it is very small. This is a commercial activity that somebody could make a business out of if they were really interested in it. I absolutely do not favor Reston Association taking on more infrastructure at a time when our community is fighting for our lives with density, and we need to pay attention to our aging infrastructure and keep it in good shape to keep the values of our homes up. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Julie? We're not quite finished with this one yet. Julie, did you have?
No, I think Tammy and I are pretty much in
something
agreement
else
on
to
that
say?
one.
Okay, yes, did you, let me get a mic to you, sir.
I don't need one. My
Well,
question is-
this is being live streamed, so.
My question is, we pay for all of our recreational venues, and Reston does. Why can't the county build a tennis court somewhere close by? Why can't the county build this indoor tennis facility? We used to have one on Sunrise, I believe it was, or Sunset Hills. Used to be up where the bowling alleys were. Wasn't that private?
It was private.
Yeah.
Thank you. Whoops.
Oops, sorry.
Sorry. I think Tammy, you were up next on this one?
Please don't get me started on what the county doesn't provide to us in Hunter Mill District that they provide in every other district. I practically say this in my sleep. Bill Bowie and I have a running feud on this. We are the only magisterial district without an indoor rec center with a big pool. So he has promised me that when that comes, whenever, I'm not holding my breath, that I will be in on planning it. Whether or not that would include tennis, I don't know. That would have to be discussed in the community when and if we ever get funding for it. I am 100% furious that Hunter Mill is so left out of the county. You and I and everybody else pay for the Reston Community Center dues, and we pay for everybody else's rec center, and we don't even have our first brick.
Thank you, Tammy. Julie?
Yes, to that point, as Tammy said, we have small tax district number 5. We all pay taxes into that. We do not have a rec center. We do not have what's equivalent to everybody else. Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee has reached out to the county to make sure that we will be involved in any study that's to come on the demand on use for a rec center, what should be in that rec center. Certainly, if the tennis community is able to get their voice heard with the county, we might see tennis facility there, might see, shuffleboard and buckyball or whatever, pickleball. There could be all sorts of things. But we do need to look at making sure that we maintain and protect our resources and facilities and not take on more, and to look at where is that overlap between what we get in the small tax district and what we can
Thank you,
provide.
Julie. Did you have anything to add, Tammy?
Yes, we do pay, and I don't know that a lot of members realize this. 4.7 cents per 100 evaluation to small tax district number 5 that funds our Reston Community Center. We do not closely monitor that facility, and I think that we could have Reston Association members, all of whom are also in that small tax district capture zone, we could get ancillary services from them,
Thank you,
and I think
Tammy.
we should do that.
Okay, thank you. We're nearing the end, and I want to thank the audience for your insightful questions, and thank you, ladies, for your thoughtful answers. If anyone in the audience has a question that we didn't get to, please feel free to email the candidates directly at the email address in your ballot guides and on www.reston.org. So we are now going to have closing remarks from each of you. Let's see, we'll start with Julie. Tammy was the last speaker to make your closing remarks.
I run to continue working for us, representing South Lakes and indeed all of our Reston. It's not a responsibility that I take lightly in the past 3 years. We stand to lose our sense of community, the very spirit and essence of Reston, as we face external pressures of growth and fiscal assessment. We must find ways to better engage and to communicate. Our aim must deliver a tangible return on our assessment dollars and more efficient ways to deliver value. Facilities and programs could be significantly impacted or eliminated depending on the election outcome, such as our neighborhood pools, our camps, ad hoc programming. I want all voices in our community to be heard and reflected on our RA board. I ask you to do 3 things for me. Learn more about me at Facebook, Julie4RA. Come to an open house I'm hosting on Tuesday, March 13th at Walker Nature, where I'll be in full listen mode as a candidate. Vote for me and tell your friends. Remember, it's a two-way street to keep communications going.
Thank you, Julie. Tammy?
Anybody who knows me knows that I am passionate about Reston. I love it. Dealing with Reston and the county government and Reston Association is extremely complex. People think that answers are simple. They are not. You have to attend a lot of meetings to get an overall view of how holistically all the puzzle pieces put together. I have done that. I love Reston. I love the people of Reston. I care for their well-being, and I care that we have our community extend into the future in something that we recognize as a planned community, where we do take the 7 founding principles of Reston very seriously. I thank you for your support, and please get involved with the density issue. It's up to all of us, and thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you both very much. Thank you, Tammy. And thank you all for coming this evening. Ballots for the election will be mailed or emailed next Monday, March 5th, based on the communications preferences you have reported to RA. And they are due back Monday, April 2nd at 5 p.m. And as I said before, you can vote either by mail or online. Replacement ballots can be obtained by calling 610-935-6170 or sending an email to restonelection@intelliscaninc.com. For those of you who plan to stay for the at-large one-year forum, I invite you to take a brief recess. We will return at 8:15. Thank you all.